Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for episode 15 of Just Take 3 with me, Andrew Musgrove. And
Me, Sam Mulliner.
hello, Sam. Welcome. You well?
Yeah, I'm in good form. I've had a great week.
Go on.
Just
Oh,
had a very good, week of work and play, and two successful results for Newcastle as well, which was lovely. Well, three if you count the women's game I went to on Sunday in Birmingham. So yeah, really good week.
not that you predicted the week that you've
No,
had, though, right?
see
Because
what
on
I
the
did
last
there?
episode, you were
Yeah,
rather gloomy
big
about
time.
Newcastle's chances of beating Chelsea in the Cup and Arsenal at home.
Yeah, do you see what I did there?
Go on.
Just lowering everyone's expectations, lowering my own expectations, just to ready to be lifted up, levity and brevity. And we were all feeling so much more buoyant now.
Well, go on then. As we do predictions, this is coming out the day before Newcastle face Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. What's going to be happening there?
I think we'll lose.
Oh, I see what you're doing. For those
Yeah.
listening, he's winking into the camera there.
And what?
Winking. And you said, you know what, right? I thought I will give him the benefit of the doubt here and he won't make that joke. And you've gone and done it. Fantastic. I was willing to bet my last penny you were going to do that, and you did not let me down. Moving on swiftly.
Do you not want to know about the rest of my week?
Well, I was going to ask you. People like that, but what they care about, they like to know what Newcastle United attire you're wearing every episode. And the one you are wearing today, for those listening, is colourful. It won't be for everyone, but it is the one Castor thing that I regret not buying. Would you like to paint a picture for those listening?
It's the rather jazzy stadium jacket with all kinds of different colours and St James's Park stuff on it. Yeah, this was another end of season purchase, which I'm fairly sure that I've worn on the pod before, but you know how it is with Gok Wan over here. Always has to make some kind of comment regarding my apparel.
It's a compliment. It's a lovely shirt or jacket.
Cheers!
It's
We've
not for everybody.
got a few raised eyebrows at the on the old school run this morning.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it does on one hand look like an artist has just chucked it over you, and it's kind of loads of colours everywhere. But I like it. I think it's a very nice jacket. But yes,
I like it.
episode 15, we are flying through, and on the back of Alexander Isak's header against Arsenal from a tremendous Anthony Gordon cross, we've decided that this week's category is headers. So me and Sam, why are you shaking your head?
Oh, because you said we decided.
Oh, well, I text you saying, is this the category, a good category to do? And you did not argue.
No, I didn't argue.
Okay. Well, it is headers, and it's going to be a wonderful show. We're stuck on a desert island. Thankfully, not the same desert island, because we probably would murder one another. But we have the ability to watch.
Keep it light.
We have the ability to watch Newcastle United highlights, moments from down the years, and this week it is headers. And we wouldn't murder each other. We are friends. We just probably annoy each other and have to move to separate areas of the island and only communicate through fire. Maybe we might not talk to one another. I don't know.
No, I tell you, but our data will all be safe and sane because we'd have both downloaded NORD VPN.
There we go. And right on cue, yes, this episode is brought to you by NORD VPN. You need to hit the link in the podcast description box and get a very special discounted offer on your NORD VPN plan. It is definitely worth it. Go to nordvpn.com/tune. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord. 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. 1 subscription, 10 devices, costs you monthly about the same price as a mainstream cup of coffee out there in the shopping centres. And look, you could buy that coffee, you could sit down in the coffee shop, log on to NordVPN, keep yourself safe from public from scammers and hackers on the public Wi-Fi. It's well worth it. Hit the link, help support the podcast. Thank you to NordVPN.
Fun fact.
Go on.
Fun fact. I don't like coffee. But
You don't like coffee?
I don't like coffee. No, I only drink tea. I don't like coffee, but I love NORD VPN.
There you go. You love being protected by NordVPN when you're drinking your cup of tea in a coffee shop. I always think, right, if you go to a coffee shop, don't get tea because you can just make tea in the house. It's like when you go for Sunday lunch, don't get chicken because chicken's the easiest meat to cook yourself. You know, you've got to get a coffee. You've got to get it. If you're having Sunday lunch, you've got a beef, pork.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a selection of hot meats.
You go, you get a trio.
Yeah.
I do like a good trio pick, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to episode 15 of Just Take Three Headers. It is. You want to go for this one?
Sorry,
Would you like to go first?
I was thinking about a carvery. What was the question? Headers. Yes. Am I going first?
You are going first.
I will start. I will kick off proceedings with the one that I think. I mean, you've definitely included this player. My opening one this week, or should I go for the other one? No, I'm going to stick with this one. Les Ferdinand against Sunderland in the last ever Wear-Tyne derby at Roker Park, which was on my birthday. Yes, I think the corner came in from, I think, Peter Beardsley. And Solez ran forward, leapt like a salmon with the flick. I mean, it's impossible to do this episode without replicating a header. And yeah, flicked it on, in it goes. And obviously Roker Park fell deathly silent. But there was big screens put up in St James's, wasn't there? So because no away fans were allowed in the ground, if you remember. So yeah, there was big screens at St James's instead.
Yeah, it was a lovely header. It was that
Oh,
the strip that everyone also remembers alongside obviously the Grandad collar and the maroon and blue one. That kind of, do you remember it with it? It was kind of, what was it? It was
blue.
kind of, would you describe it as blue? I mean, yeah, blue is
I
probably the
think it
best
was
way.
kind of like a denim-y blue kind of affair with a kind of horizontal stripe either side of a circular brown ale emblem in the middle.
Yeah, the horizontal stripes is what made that strip. But yeah, great header. And I love watching back the highlights because you can just hear the 2 or 3 very brave Newcastle United fans who've somehow got into Roker Park. And like there's some joys, some
There's
shouts
always a
of
few.
celebration. I imagine they disappeared quite quickly towards the exit. But yeah, a fantastic header. And look, a player who was great in the air. You know, we talked last week about his partnership with Alan Shearer. Ferdinand, as I mentioned, better header of the ball. He was tremendous in the air. And he's one of those that nearly made it onto my list. I've got a goal of his written down, but he's my 4th choice rather than my 3rd choice. And it was the one against Middlesbrough, August 1995. Ginola gets down the left at St James's Park, whips the ball in, and Ferdinand just rises and just glances in at the back of the net. And it was just kind of peak Les Ferdinand, just peak Newcastle United at that time because you had 2
Yeah.
wingers who just got down the wings, Gillespie, Ginola, into the box, job done. And, Les Ferdinand must have loved having those wingers either side of him.
Yeah. I remember asking Les about his aerial ability when he was on my podcast. And we were discussing it because, like, I agree with what you say that I'd like Celeste for me is the best striker in the air that I've seen. His heading ability, his aerial ability is unrivaled for me. So I asked him why that was. Was it natural ability, or is it something he had to work on? And he said it was by no means natural ability at all. This is something he had to work and work and work and work at from a very young age because his coaches, when he was younger, didn't fancy him as a header of the ball. So that's something he really had to graft and knuckle down to master that craft, and didn't he just? He was the complete striker, was Les Ferdinand. He was absolutely superb, and 50 goals in 2 seasons. It's just a shame we didn't have him for a bit longer. I know we discussed it at length last week, but yeah, that was a great header for me in a memorable game and a kind of landmark game. As I say, the final Wear Time derby at the old Roker Park, and we went on to win that game as well, which is makes it ever so much sweeter.
1-0, I think the score was, wasn't it? And it's funny you mentioned
2-1.
2-1, was it? Okay, there we go. It's funny you mentioned having to watch it on big screens and stuff, because I remember watching, I think it was maybe the 2-2 draw potentially. There was one game that I remember watching at the old Telewest Arena, which is now, I don't know what it's called now. It used to be the Meta Radio Arena, and it's now the
Utilita.
yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was 99 2000. Did Helder score since at the Stadium of Light? Anyway, I remember watching a game at the arena full of Newcastle United fans, and whether it was because we weren't allowed into the Stadium of Light, or whether there was such a demand to see the game, and we ended up at the Telewest Arena. It must have been because we weren't allowed into the away end. But yeah, it's funny that we had to do that.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised there weren't similar scenes. I suppose it's different now with the amount of televised coverage around, but and obviously these kind of places have been replaced by fan zones just cropping up here, there, and everywhere. I suppose, but yeah, the old days of whacking a big screen up in the stadium or in the arena, as you say, are probably long gone. But yeah, it's one of them. Tremendous sense of community.
Yeah, it was a goal by Helder at the Stadium Light. 2-2 the score was. Newcastle led 2-1 at half time. Didier Domi opened the scoring at 11 minutes on the clock. Then Helder made it 2-0 thanks to Kieran Dyer ball in the box. Kevin Phillips got one back a minute later, and then he got the equaliser in the 82nd minute thanks to a Kevin Kilbine assist. So yeah, February 2000 kickoff, 3 p.m., which is a rarity in itself. But yeah, I'm watching that at Telewest Arena back in the day. But as we said, tremendous there to talk about Les Ferdinand once again. I'll go with my first pick. And I don't know, should I do it in terms of the best header of the three, or should I do it in terms of my kind of actual third pick? I don't know. What would you like first?
Well, I fear that you've picked my second one, because the thing is, the first two, this one and my next one, were kind of always going to be there, and then I had about half a dozen that I struggled to whittle down to my third one, which I'm still not fully decided on.
Well, I'll go with my first choice. I'll go with the
Yeah,
one that was always going to be on this list,
I
and it
think
was
this is going to be mine as well.
No, I'm not too. I think we've definitely got one the same, but I don't think this one's on your list. I don't know. It's Gary Speed versus Sheffield Wednesday.
Ah,
Newcastle United won 8-0. September 1999. Shearer, of course, got 5. Sir Boy Robson's first game at St James's Park. But Speed's header in this game for the 6th goal, unbelievable. And there was so much to love and like about Gary Speed. The engine on him, great in the tackle, great passer of the ball, couldn't half hit the ball towards goal. But his heading ability was just something else. And this goal for me stands out. It's my favourite Gary Speed goal. It's my favourite headed goal from a Newcastle United player. The ball comes in at the Leazes. It's a corner, comes in from Alberto Solano. Beautiful ball in the box. Gary Speed is on the penalty spot and heads the ball home into the corner. It is the most perfectly placed header that I've ever seen, and from distance as well. And people say, no, penalty spot, it's only 12 yards. You've got to get some power from the penalty spot to get that and get that placed as well as he did. It's a tremendous goal. Probably gets lost among Shearer's 5, Sir Boy Robson's first home game, etc., etc. But it should stand out as part of a beautiful moment of that game.
yeah, he was so brilliant in the air, wasn't he? After kind of adapting his game from pacey winger at Leeds to what he was for us, which was just an absolute midfield general. Had a wicked left foot on him, didn't he? And fantastic in the air. Scored some big goals for us as well, particularly in Europe, Dynamo Kiev and PSV in the UEFA Cup. And yeah, just an all round fantastic player. Yeah, great goal. But yeah, you're right in what you say. Obviously, that game's always remembered for Shearer's 5 and B, it's Sir Bobby's first home game. So, yeah, some of them goals like Aaron Hughes got on the score sheet that day as well. It just gets lost in the depths of history.
Well, I'll take you behind the curtain slightly, because in my head, until recently, I always thought that goal was scored against Bradford. I don't know why, but I always thought that the goal was scored against Bradford City, which kind of emphasises the point that it gets lost. So I always remember the header. I could have always described the goal to you, and the cross into the box from the corner, and where he was in the box. I could have done that day in, day out. But I would have always said it was against Bradford City until I went to research it and thought, hey, because I was listening back to it, so the comment it says he's got 6. I thought, 6? I don't remember them beating Bradford City by 6 goals. And then I went back through, and it took us 2 or 3, 4 clicks on the Wikipedia. You know how you can go back on the years and it's got the arrows?
Yeah.
And I finally found it, and I thought, 6. And I remember them beating Everton, was it, in an FA Cup replace? Yeah, that was a high scoring game. Then I was at Tottenham maybe, but I couldn't remember any other game where they'd scored a lot of goals other than obviously this game against Sheffield Wednesday. And then I found it. I thought, oh, watched it back, and of course it was that game. So there we go. But I always remember the header. Maybe I got the team wrong until I researched it. But that's why you want this podcast, ladies and gents. The proper research is done here. But a tremendous goal there from Gary Speed, and he will feature, I suspect, later in the show as well. Maybe not, Sam. You're looking a bit blind.
What, Gary Speeds?
Yeah.
Potentially, not with a goal, but with an assist. But I haven't made my mind up on the third one yet.
Okay.
My second one is one of my favourite goals of all time, and that's Tino Asprilla's third against Barcelona in that 3-2 win. Just one of my most favourite goals ever. All down to Keith Gillespie for me. He picks the ball up level with our own 18-yard box on the right wing. Absolutely dismantles Sergei. Basically blasts the ball ahead of him and runs after him, does him for pace, as he did all that throughout that game. And then the cross still had so much work to do, because he's probably just over halfway inside the Barcelona box, and he puts an absolute perfect cross in. You'll struggle to see any better, to be honest. And it just lands slap bang in the middle of Tino Asprilla's forehead. So for him to head home for a hat trick and to put us 3-0 up at home to Barcelona of all teams, and it's just one of the most perfect goals I think you will ever see. It's just art.
I love the still image of Tino rising to meet that ball.
Oh, the leap was huge.
Photograph, fantastic. And then the footage of Gillespie down the wing. I always remember, though, thinking his top looks like, like when you see maybe a little kid wearing like their dad's Newcastle United shirt. The top always looked so big. Like how did he run that quickly? Because surely it was that big. It should have been like a sail kind of holding him back, or a parachute sort of thing, because it did look massive on him. But yeah, the pace down that flank was just tremendous. His best game in a Newcastle United shirt, without a shadow of a doubt.
One of that performance that night by Keith Gillespie is one of the all-time great individual performances from a Newcastle United player in throughout the club's history. I think he was unplayable that night, Keith Gillespie, and that goal was all about the cross, much like I think Isak's winner at Arsenal at the weekend.
Which was a better cross? Gordon?
Gillespie's cross was perfect. Because the distance it had to cover as well, because it was a lot further out than people may remember. Yes, the second one he kind of got to the byline, whipped it in, and that was more of a. See, I've got to do the heading motion again. But Tino, the leap he had to put in, and it was just as close to footballing perfection as I think you will ever find. So much technical ability and all of that move. Phenomenal. What just goes to show, when the basics are done well, it's just unbeatable.
Funny enough, we've also recorded an episode regarding Chris Wood, and if he'd got that service, he would have loved that at Newcastle United. Go and check that episode out ahead of Sunday's game against Nottingham Forest. But yeah, tremendous cross. And I always remember John Beresford saying, I just looked across the pitch and thought, I'm really glad I'm not playing against Keith Gillespie. And you think about the players Barcelona had, Luis Figo, for example, and you've got John Beresford thinking, I'd rather be playing against this world-class player than our world-class player over the other line.
Yeah, Rivaldo, Luis Enrique.
With Sonny Anderson there. I always remember trying to buy Sonny Anderson on Championship Manager.
Yeah, they had Reitziger played Nadal, legendary Spanish centre back. Was it Ruud Hesp in goal?
Let me
Yeah.
run through the team. I always, every time I look back on this game, and you go on UEFA.com, for some reason, the lineup is totally all over the place. Like the players are right, but they're in the wrong position. For example,
So it was Hesp in goal.
yeah, but on UEFA.com, they've got Rivaldo and Sonny Anderson playing as centre back, Luis Figo at right back. Like in Newcastle up top, they've got Steve Watson and Philip Albert.
As you
Don't
do.
ask us why. Massive glitch. But the team that played that night for Barca, we'll just run through it. Hesp, Figo, Anderson,
I was
Rivaldo.
going to guess.
Oh, go on then. Sorry, I've given you 4 there then.
Well, I was going to go Reitziger, Nadal.
Yeah,
Who was the other centre back? I'll come back to that one. Sergi, obviously.
yeah.
And they had Luis Enrique, Figo, Rivaldo. They have Danny.
Nope.
Oh, he must have come off the bench then. Did Sonny Anderson play, didn't he? Did you say
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Sonny Anderson played. So you're missing 3 players.
Oh, that's not a bad effort for a Barcelona 97 side off the top of my head.
I know. They bought Christophe de Gary off the bench.
Did De Boer play? Had he gone there
No.
by then?
No. Do you want me just to name them for you?
Yeah, because I mean, you know, just yeah.
De La Pena, Salaldez, and then Emuke.
Who was the last one?
Emunike, Amunike, Emunike.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I should have got De La Pena. He was a decent player.
But
Would
yeah, just
Guardiola have been on the bench?
let me just check the squad list. He wasn't on the bench. Busquets was on the bench. So I wonder if that's a relation. And then let's say Degari and Circa came off the bench. Newcastle's bench that night was Cernacek, Peacock, Howie, Rush, Ketsbaya, Pinas, and Aaron Hughes.
Rush, Pinas, my word.
Yeah.
John Dahl Thomason started for us that night.
He did.
Didn't we play 3-5-2?
I'll be honest, like I say, the UEFA.com has got it all over the shop. The only players they've got in the correct positions, Shea Given and Warren Barton. So after that, it's gone all over the shop. Got Barnes at right mid.
Albert, Beresford,
Thomason. Yeah.
Thomason, Lee, Barnes play, John Barnes.
Yeah.
Obviously Gillespie. And then Asprilla obviously was up front with Thomason just off him. How many more do I need?
1
position.
Centre mid. Defensive mid.
Batty.
Yep, David Batty.
Of course, I have his name on the back of that shirt. How could I have forgotten? And I've done him on this series how many times? How could I leave David Batty out? He's one of my favourite ever players.
He picked up his customary yellow card in that game.
Obviously,
So
it probably should have been a red.
But yeah, what a tremendous night on Tyneside. One that will never be forgotten.
Kalina was the ref as well, if I remember rightly.
Yep, you are right. And by those who weren't there, yeah, brilliant. So many stars on show and a fantastic header by Tino Asprilla. My second choice is Pape Cisse versus Anzi in the Europa League.
Yeah, this was one of my
93rd minute winner that got Newcastle United into the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Marvo with the cross from the right. Cisse rises probably 5-6 yards out to glance the header home, and it's a wonderful goal. Very simple, very effective. Get the ball in the box, bank on your striker, rising like a salmon, as you said, Sam, ahead of the 2 defenders to put it home. And then the celebrations after, tremendous. Stephen Taylor and Cisse into the crowd. But it was just a really nice goal and a nice way to win the game. And it's funny when you think about it, because you said earlier in the show, once you put the ball in the box, if you've got a striker who you can bet your bottom dollar on putting it in the back of the net, that you're confident you're gonna score on you. And that's what we had there with Cisse, who was decent enough in the air, actually. Obviously not on the level of Shearer or Les Ferdinand, but he wasn't bad in the air, and as shown there with that wonderful header.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it wasn't bad in the air, but yeah, it was a great cross from Marvo. Probably one of the very
The only
few
thing he
times.
did.
Yeah, he got a few assists that I can remember. I remember he got the assist for Kabay for a 1-0 win at home to Wigan in that 5th place season. But yeah, that was great. Do you know what kind of bugs me about that clip though? And I know it's kind of it's just a bugbear. It's not having a go at anyone, but it's a bugbear. Stadium was half empty.
Mm.
And I know it was because of kind of peak Mike Ashley years and protests and people not go. I get all that, and I fully support people's right to not go and whatever. It's a separate point I'm making about you remember these big classic European nights with a full stadium and a raucous crowd, which wasn't quite there for that, which is a shame really, because it was a absolutely tremendous moment.
I was there for it. It's one of them games. Probably it's more the moment that stays with you, I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're right
yeah,
there.
yeah. I just think it's a bit of a shame that, like, whenever you look back on it, there's just so many empty seats, and it's just not reminiscent of us, really, is it?
Yeah, no, I agree. But for those who were there and those who were watching, I think it would have been on Channel 5, maybe. A
I
wonderful
don't. Do
goal.
you know what? I don't think it was televised.
It wasn't televised? No. Okay,
Don't
there we
think so.
go.
Or
So
it
one of
was
those.
on some far-fangled channel that
Hmm.
you could barely find. But yeah, it wasn't. I seem to remember watching the first leg, which was 0-0. I can't remember, because I wasn't there that night. I was in the pub. I'd gone to the pub to try and watch it and have a practice of because I played darts at the time. But it wasn't televised.
I'm just looking at the teams because I remember Anzi, they'd spent quite a bit of dollar, hadn't they?
Eto, Chris
So yeah,
Samba.
yeah. Eto was the one that stands out and had
He was the highest paid footballer on planet Earth during that time.
Gus Hiddink was the manager, was he not?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, tremendous win for Newcastle. And you really felt, or I did, like the momentum was with them. And I think they drew Benfica next and they kind of let themselves down slightly. I felt it was one of those.
Opportunity missed, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Good
definitely.
side though, Benfica.
Oh, definitely. They're always up there or thereabouts, aren't they? Just looking here, I was just thinking in my head, was Eto a waste of money? He did score 25 and 53 and before he moved on to join Chelsea. And then he played for Everton. How random is that? But he did score quite a few goals for Anzi, actually.
We
So there
faced
you
him
go.
earlier as well, didn't it? When he played for Mallorca,
We did.
we played
We
him
did.
in the UEFA Cup, battered him.
Lovely little yellow strip, wasn't it? I
Mm.
remember.
What, the
Clive
Angie?
it. No, that
Oh no,
Newcastle played Mallorca in.
yes, the European yellow kit. Yes, yeah,
Clive up front. I think Shoreline and Clive played up front for one of those games, actually. Beat them 4-1.
probably.
I think. But anyway, yeah, there we go. Pape Cisse with the header against Anzi to get Newcastle into the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Now we're on to our third and final picks. And I've got a funny feeling, Sam, we've picked the same goal here.
Well, I haven't picked mine yet.
Okay.
So
How are we going
that
to
was
do
one.
this then?
That was one. Well, I'm going to make it up as I'm going to show my working out and go through it, or I'll go through my thinking. But that Papi Cisse one was one of the contenders. It was a great little goal actually, which they showed during the Champions League coverage last night. Shearer's first of his hat trick against Bayer Leverkusen.
I'll stop you there. That's my third pick. And that's what I thought you would pick. I thought you would be on board with this one.
I am on board, so I'll leave it alone and I'll pick another one. So what I will do then is I will pick Dan Burn against Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh, hello. Yes. Yes. Okay. I get you.
because that was a night that will live long in the memory. I was there that night in the Leazes End. Um, Such a lengthy check for VAR. Never a moment's doubt for me that that ball crossed the line, because I was right on top looking down and it was miles over, despite a fantastic effort from Donnarumma, who is just getting worse as years continue to go on. I used to think Donnarumma was just like the best goalkeeper in the world waiting to happen when he was at AC Milan, but I just don't understand what's happened to him. The guy needs a move from PSG for me. But yeah, that's it. Was the second goal of the game, and when you 1-0 up against a big team like that with superstars like Mbappe, who I'm not a fan of. I think he's tremendously overrated, but you can't deny his ability and his goal record. When you go 1-0 up, it's always still very much in the balance, and knocking on to half time to get another goal and go 2-0 up to go into the break 2-0 up was absolute. It was a mammoth moment, absolutely huge. And for it to come like that, Dan Burns, 6'7", leaping ahead, chucking his full body weight behind it. That's all 3 goals now. I've simulated a header myself. I can't help it. But yeah, tremendous work. We thought the chance had gone because Bruno tried to shoot from a really narrow angle. Tonali wins it back fantastically well. Then there was the big issue whether the goal would stand or not, whether or not Bruno had managed to stay onside when he lifted the ball back to Dan Burn, who's waiting at the back post. But thankfully he was onside. I think Marquinhos' back foot kept him on. And jumped well above Skriniar, I think it was, or Lucas Hernandez. And despite Donnarumma's best efforts, in it went, and the tension in that long wait, it seemed like an absolute age. But I was always confident it was going to be given, to be honest, because I didn't even think about the offside. It was just that ball crossed the line, and I was just tunnel vision. That is a goal. End of. Yeah, incredible moment, incredible
And
noise. Just what a
yeah,
night.
I remember sitting there and you were looking around thinking, well, we're there. Is it about it's crossed the line, so the watch has gone off. So what are they looking at? Is it a foul by Dan Burn because he's gone full force like at the back of him? Is it Bruno's offside? What is the reason? And it was taken forever, like you're saying. You were just like kind of going out your mind, just thinking, is it going to be disallowed? Because it's such an important moment in the
And
game.
the on-field decision was no goal,
Yeah,
which was for initially offside, because when the ball crossed the line and he got the notification on the old watch that it had crossed the line, then the flag went up and the ref gave the offside signal, didn't he? But yeah, it was but when that happens, the longer it goes on, you think you got a chance here.
yeah,
But yeah, it was an agonising wait, and then
yeah,
like you almost get to celebrate twice, don't you? In that instance, because we all knew the ball had crossed the line, and then obviously when it's given, then it's another celebration, isn't it? With Big Dan Burn, who's travelled the length and breadth of the UK after getting turned down by Newcastle to end up back there for 2 of the most memorable seasons in recent history. It's an incredible story, and to get on the score sheet as well. And he was magnificent at left back that night. Kept Dembele quiet, who again I think is so tremendously overrated, but he's so pacey. He would always could cause Burn trouble, but not a moment's bother really.
yeah. Tremendous story. Dan Burns' tale coming back to the club, like you say, getting on the score sheet in the Champions League and against a team like PSG as well. He just wanted the ball more, didn't he? Like you could just see that the way he's flung himself forward. He's only 2 or 3 yards out, but he just wanted it more than the defender. He made that height advantage count. And yes, it was given, and it was such an important moment in the game. So I can fully understand why you've picked that as well, because it's more than just about the header as well. It's about everything that it meant for Dan Burn and the completion of the story, really. So yeah, I
Such an
can see
important
that.
part of the game as well. massive.
and that, yeah.
So, like, if you're going in 1-0 up, with the players they had, and yes, Enrique got the system horribly, horribly wrong for PSG that night, playing a 4-2-4, which was just absolute thick. Yeah, they could and probably would have maybe found a way back into that game, but going in at 2-0 just changed everything, especially, other side of half time, 49 minutes was it, when Sean Longstaff made it 3. You just knew it was going to be one of the biggest nights in the club's history.
Yeah, tremendous night. And from one Champions League campaign to another, my final pick is Newcastle United 3, Bayer Leverkusen 1. Alan Shearer grabbed the hat-trick that night and his first goal of that game. And yes, thanks to John Champion and Amazon for showing this clip last night, Shearer on co-coms, and that's kind of put it in my list because I watched it again and thought, yeah, you can't really get much
How
better than that.
how underrated is Alan Shearer, by the way, at CoComs?
Oh, he's
He's
fantastic. He's
brilliant.
what I love about it, and there's punditry as well. It's not come natural to him. We've seen a progression, like Gary Neville as well. That clip when he interviews, is it Roberto Mancini? I think it is his first ever stint on Monday Night Football, and he's
Oh, Gary
really
Neville.
nervous. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gary Neville, and you can see how far he's come because now he's one of the best around. Like Shearer, it's come on, and I love that journey. I love that journey. It's not happened like that. It's happened over a sustained period of time. Yeah, but he's brilliant on co-com. He's brilliant on Five Live as well. But brilliant striker. That's why he's in my list. It was a wonderful, wonderful goal, and this is where Gary Speed comes back into it as well. Gets the ball. Gary Speed. He's got just so much time and space, and maybe I don't know what they were doing. Maybe underestimated his crossing ability. A perler or a cross. I mean, if we're talking crosses like Keith Gillespie, like Anthony Gordon against Arsenal, this one is up there. It is a tremendous cross, left foot curling ball into the box, and Alan Shearer diving header into the back of the net. Tremendous. He's never missing from that distance out. And did you know it was his first ever goal in the Champions League from open play?
Yes.
Yes, as in you agree, or yes, you knew that?
I knew that.
Well, of course you did. Of course.
Because
But anyway,
he didn't get on the score sheet first time around because obviously he missed so much through injury. Did he score for Blackburn in the Champions League?
well, the stat is in open play, so I'm assuming he
Might have got a penalty.
was
He got the penalty.
Leverkusen the first? Was Leverkusen the first game of that campaign?
No.
No, so
No.
he's maybe
The game
scored
against Leverkusen, it was in the second group phase.
second group phases. There we go. So yeah, he must have scored a penalty
And it
against someone.
was actually match week 4 of the second group phase, because match week 3 we beat them 3-1 in Leverkusen, where Shearer was still suspended because of that elbow on Cannavaro, which was match week 1, because match week 2 was Barcelona, show Ramiobi in the new camp. If memory serves. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because
No, I'm going to look
what
through
else
it
is the
now.
comment box for?
Jesus, they played a lot of Champions League games. Played 2 qualifying games, and then
Yeah, against Zaleznica in Bosnia. And then we had Feyenoord, Juventus, and Dynamo Kiev. Now, Dynamo Kiev, Shearer scored a penalty at St James's.
So that was the goal.
Gary Speed getting the other goal that night as well.
Yeah. So that was the penalty, and then the first goal in open play comes against Bayer Leverkusen. 3 games later, because they get beat off Inter Milan 4-1 at St James's Park. Bellamy gets sent off.
Horrendous night. Bellamy got sent off. Shearer got booked for the elbow, but then got a retrospective ban. Alvaro Recoba just absolutely tore us a new backside that night, and it was an awful game. I think Solano got our consolation. It was an awful, awful watch. It was terrible. But yeah, then the game at Barca, and then two wins, one in Leverkusen, and then the return leg when Shearer was Bellamy was still suspended, but Shearer was back, and then got the hat trick, and yeah, then it was Inter Milan, wasn't it?
But just talk to me about the goal, because our other picks have all been standing upright, leaping into the air, whereas this pick is he's
Diving
thrown
header.
himself down in a diving head, and they're a rarity these days. Really, don't often see too many of them, but he got that spot on.
Yeah, lovely cross from speed. As you say, he had so much time to kind of pick his spot, really. And he just bent it round the Leverkusen defence. I mean, bear in mind, Leverkusen got to the final the previous season. Yes, they'd lost a couple of players, the likes of Ballack and whatnot, and they weren't as good as they were, but no mugs getting to the second group phase at that time. Yeah, and then Shearer just did what he had to do through. I did the header again. Threw himself at it with complete control, considering it's a diving header. He was always in control of it, and it was a great finish. And yeah, set us on our way to giving us a bit of hope in qualifying out of that really difficult second group phase.
Yeah, a tremendous goal. Probably doesn't get onto the list of Alan Shearer's greatest 20 goals, maybe, but it's
Yeah,
definitely up there
it's
as one of the
underrated.
best headers I've seen.
Yeah,
Mm.
really underrated finish. I think they did away with the second group phase the year after that as well in the Champions League. It did seem
Yeah,
a bit of a faff.
it wasn't long for this world. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't think the changes to the Champions League this year around, I wasn't a big fan of them, but it seems to be very entertaining. Something's in the water.
Not for me. It makes me feel physically sick.
Well,
Liverpool and Aston Villa at the top of the league. Do me a favour.
well, fingers crossed you can feel physically sick in Dortmund or in Milan next season as Newcastle take part in this revamped Champions League. Would you take
I
that?
hope so. I'd love to go back to Dortmund and actually be competitive, like without a peak of an injury crisis going there.
Well, we can live in hope. Thank you, Sam, for coming on and being part of episode 15 of Just Take 3. The category was headers. Sam, just remind our listeners and viewers of your choices.
In reverse order, Dan Burn against Paris Saint-Germain. Les Ferdinand in the Weartime Derby, the final ever Weartime Derby at Roker Park. And, of course, Tino Asprilla's third goal against Barcelona, thanks to a magnificent performance all round from Keith Gillespie, which was out of this world.
Yep. My picks: Cisse against Anzi in the Europa League, Gary Speed versus Sheffield Wednesday in the 8-0 victory at St James's Park. And as we've just discussed, Alan Shearer against Bayer Leverkusen getting his first goal in open play in the Champions League and on his way to a hat-trick that night. Let us know in the comments your favourite headed goal that you've seen by Newcastle United. I mean, we didn't even mention Rob Lee getting a hat-trick against Antwerp in '93. There's so many we could have spoken about. I'm sure we have missed quite a few. So do let us know in the comments if we've missed your pick. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks to NORD VPN for sponsoring the podcast. Thanks to you guys for watching and listening. For myself and Sam, we'll see you guys very soon.